Some mornings don't begin with noise. They begin with stillness. No alarms. No voices. Just the soft click of the kettle, the curling steam from your coffee, and a kind of silence that feels earned. Have you ever sat in that silence, not because the world forgot you, but because you chose to step away from its chaos? A kitchen filled with morning light. A chair pulled just right. Your hands wrapped around a warm mug. And suddenly, that space feels sacred. Whole. It's in moments like these that we uncover something powerful. Some women aren't just surviving solitude. They're thriving in it. Today, we're not talking about loneliness. We're talking about liberation. Because some women have reached a place where they no longer chase echoes. They no longer dilute their joy to make others more comfortable. They have stopped waiting for permission to feel fulfilled. They don't need someone to complete their story. They are the story. This episode is a quiet celebration of 5 extraordinary types of women. Women who have discovered that living alone doesn't mean being alone. Women who dance through life to their own quiet rhythm and wouldn't have it any other way. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you've walked away from a long chapter, carrying your strength like a suitcase. Maybe you've always felt more alive in your own company than in a crowded room. Or maybe, just recently, you've realized that peace isn't something you find in someone else's arms, but in your own still breath. So today, we honor you. We'll step into the lives of 5 remarkable women, each one different, each one whole. And by the time this journey ends, perhaps you'll see yourself reflected in their stories. Not because you're alone, but because you're free. And freedom, dear friend, is never something to apologize for. Before we begin today's journey, I want to invite you gently to take a deep breath and settle into this quiet space with me. If you enjoy thoughtful storytelling, if you find comfort in solitude, or wisdom in reflection, this channel was created for you. So if it feels right, you're warmly invited to subscribe, to like this video if it resonates, and to share it with someone who might need it today. Now, let's begin. Type 1, the compass woman, she who decides her own direction. Let's begin with the first kind of woman, the one who doesn't merely tolerate living alone, but seems to blossom because of it. I call her the compass woman. Not because she's cold, calculating, or distant, but because she moves through life with direction, her own. She is the woman who trusts her gut more than the noise of the world. She's spent decades fine-tuning her inner voice, learning when to lean in, when to walk away, and most importantly, when to stand still and listen. Dinner plans? She chooses with ease. A cross-country move? She'll make it happen without blinking. She doesn't need a panel of opinions before acting. She is the panel. Her independence isn't just a preference, it's a sacred ground she walks on. It doesn't mean she lacks warmth. Quite the opposite. She's often the one who listens deeply, gives generously, and offers sanctuary to others. But don't confuse her compassion for compromise. Let me introduce you to Helen. Helen is 73. She was once the head administrator of a large public school in Michigan. After retirement, she sold her home and relocated to the edge of Sedona, completely on her own. When I asked her, why Sedona? She smiled and said, I needed more light. Literally, and in every other way. She went on to say, for 40 years, I made decisions for hundreds of people, teachers, students, families. Now, I get to make decisions for just one, me. And that feels like peace. There was no defiance in her voice. No bitterness. Just calm clarity, the kind that comes from living on purpose. For women like Helen, even the kindest advice from friends or family can sometimes feel intrusive. They're not looking to debate how to spend their savings, what color to repaint the living room, or where to go for the holidays. They've already had that conversation. With themselves. Some compass women make decisions fast, with a flash of certainty. Others take their time, weighing options in long walks through quiet trails or while staring at the night sky. But here's the thing, they don't ask permission. Not because they're stubborn. but because they're sovereign. They've earned the right to steer their own ship, without needing someone else to hold the map. So if you're nodding quietly right now, maybe even smiling a little, you might just be one of them. Not afraid of love. Not running from pain. Just deeply rooted in your own knowing. And that, my friend, is not only admirable. It's beautiful. So here's to you. The compass women. The silent captains of their own journey. The ones who steer by starlight. Whose clarity isn't cold, but sacred. And whose trust in their own direction is what freedom truly looks like. Type 2, the inner sanctuary woman, the quiet artist of the soul. Now, let us turn to the second kind of woman, the one who doesn't just enjoy solitude. She blooms within it. I call her the inner sanctuary woman. She is not drawn to noise, nor shaped by it. Her power doesn't come from outside affirmation, but from the intricate, unseen cathedral she's built quietly within herself. She doesn't seek the spotlight. She seeks resonance. While others chase momentum, she listens to the whispers between heartbeats, the poetry between thoughts, and the sacred silence most people rush past. She isn't trying to be alone. She simply understands that her spirit becomes most alive in that stillness. She reads. She journals. She paints. She meditates. She doesn't need constant dialogue, background noise, or even the presence of others to feel whole. In fact, too much disruption feels like being pulled away from her center, like a thread being tugged from a carefully woven cloth. Let me tell you about Celeste. She's 68 now, a retired music teacher who lives in a sun-warmed cottage nestled near a quiet lake in Vermont. Her mornings are sacred rituals. She lights a candle, brews a strong cup of black tea, and spends an hour writing before the world even knows she's awake. Her home hums with gentle music and the scent of cedar. Books wrap around the fireplace. Objects tell quiet stories, a smooth stone from the first beach she visited alone, a chipped teacup passed down from her grandmother, a half-finished painting born during a winter storm. She once told me, "In my 20s, I thought being alone meant I wasn't wanted. Now, it means I finally have space to love what I truly want." That shift, from isolation to intention, is the essence of this woman. Many inner sanctuary women are creatives, painters, writers, weavers, gardeners, dreamers. But creativity here isn't just about producing something. It's about shaping a life that reflects the soul's rhythm. It's about being free to wander, to nap at noon, to hum a melody that no one else will hear. This is sacred artistry, not of canvas or clay, but of living deeply from within. There's also a quiet truth we rarely speak aloud. Her relationship with intimacy has changed. For some women, especially as they age, physical closeness becomes less of a need and more of a quiet exhale. Celeste once said, "Menopause was like a door softly closing behind me. I used to wonder if I should grieve it. But honestly, what I feel is space. Like my heart suddenly has more room for other kinds of joy." This doesn't mean she's cold or withdrawn. Quite the opposite. She loves fiercely animals, trees, sunlight on a floorboard. She gives her tenderness to the natural world and receives it in return. She may have once had passionate love stories, or never felt drawn to romance at all. But where she stands now is a place of deep peace. And peace, my friend, is never small. If you find joy in watering your plants while sunlight filters through the blinds, if you feel most like yourself while journaling in silence or listening to birdsong on your porch, then perhaps you too are an inner sanctuary woman. Your joy does not need applause. Your love does not need proof. You are whole because you've made a home inside yourself. So here's to you, dear artist of solitude. The woman who creates sacred space with just her breath. The one who speaks to herself with gentleness and speaks to the world only when it's worth it. You don't just survive in stillness. You wrap it in warmth. You color it with soul. And that is a gift only you can give. Type 3, the reclaimed caregiver, she who has returned to herself. Let's now talk about the third kind of woman. The one who has spent years pouring her soul into others. And is now learning, gently and powerfully, to pour some of that love back into herself. I call her the reclaimed caregiver. You've probably met her. Maybe, just maybe, you are her. She's the one who remembers everyone's birthdays. Who plates meals for the whole family before she ever sits down. Who stays up late tutoring her children or holding space for a grieving friend. Her heart is stitched together with threads of loyalty and tenderness. For decades, her life may have revolved around the needs of others. But something beautiful begins to happen with time. She starts to turn that same devotion inward. Not overnight. At first, it feels strange. Maybe even wrong. She wrestles with guilt for resting. For saying no. For choosing peace over obligation. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, something shifts. She realizes. She's still a caregiver. Only now, the person she's caring for is herself. Let me tell you about Miriam. She's 71. A retired nurse. Mother of 3. For most of her life, she was the quiet center that held everything together. She cooked every meal, remembered every appointment, and made sure home felt like safety for everyone who stepped inside. But after her children moved away, and after her husband passed from a long illness, Miriam found herself surrounded by silence. And she didn't know what to do with it. She once told me, "I didn't know who I was if no one needed me." It felt like when the phone stopped ringing, my sense of purpose disappeared, too. But over time, something unexpected began to unfold. She started cooking again. This time, just for herself. She bought flowers not for a party or a guest, but for her own kitchen table. She walked farther. She began journaling, writing down dreams she never had time for. She said to me once, with a soft smile, "These days, I make myself a full breakfast every morning. Just like I used to do for my family. Only now, it's for me. Because I finally believe I deserve it." That is the quiet revolution of the reclaimed caregiver. Women like Miriam are often invisible to the world. Society praises youth and ambition, but overlooks the fierce, enduring compassion of women who have held families together without thanks or fanfare. And when those women begin to value themselves, not just for what they give, but for who they are, that's nothing less than sacred. She still loves. Of course, she does. Loving is in her bones. But now, she draws boundaries. She learns that no is not cruel, it's self-respect. That solitude is not selfish. That rest is not laziness. She stops pouring from an empty cup and begins to refill it, drop by drop. She finds joy in the smallest of acts. Planting herbs on the windowsill. Knitting a scarf for herself. Reading by candlelight late into the night, without apologizing to anyone. She lights a candle, not for guests, but because she, too, deserves beauty. Deserves presence. Deserves stillness. She honors the rituals of her own becoming. A walk after dinner. Tea in a real ceramic mug. A favorite old song echoing gently in the background. If you are this woman, then you already know the language of care. But now the question becomes, can you offer a portion of that grace to the woman in the mirror? Because she is worthy. Just as much as anyone you've ever cared for. And when you begin to show up for yourself, with the same softness and loyalty you've given everyone else, that is when solitude no longer feels empty. It begins to feel complete. So here's to you. The reclaimed caregiver. The woman who once gave her heart to the world. And now, at long last, is learning to give it back. To herself. You are not selfish. You are not forgotten. You are entering a new season. A season of restoration. A season of tenderness. A season where you are the one being held, honored, and healed. And you deserve every second of it. Type 4, the sovereign builder, she who owns her own life. Now we arrive at the fourth kind of woman. A woman who doesn't just thrive in solitude. She commands it. I call her the sovereign builder. She's steady. She's grounded. And she has rooted herself deeply into a life she built with her own two hands. This is the kind of woman who knows the value of money. Because she earned every dollar herself. But more than that, she understands the worth of her time, her space, and her freedom. She's not dependent. She may have once shared a home, a mortgage, a life with someone else. Or maybe not at all. But now, she knows how to care for herself emotionally, spiritually, financially. Hard work doesn't scare her. Solitude doesn't rattle her. In fact, the two often walk side by side. Let me tell you about Lorraine. She's 67, and after 30 years in real estate, she now lives in a sun-drenched home in Oregon. A place filled with art, memory, and light. She built her career from scratch. Door to door, call after call. Negotiating with conviction in a world that often looked past ambitious women. But Lorraine didn't flinch. She raised 2 children on her own. She paid off her mortgage. And when retirement came, she didn't search for someone to fill her calendar. She looked for ways to fill her days with meaning. I once asked her if she ever missed partnership. She looked at me, smiled, and said, I didn't work this hard to have someone else start voting on my choices. I don't mind love. But I'm done with compromise. I want to wake up and know every decision is mine. That, right there, is the essence of the sovereign builder. She may still be working. Or she may be living off a pension she carefully planned. Either way, what she has, she built. Her security doesn't come from inheritance. Or dependency. It comes from decades of grit. Brick by brick, choice by choice. Year by year. And because she built it, she protects it. Not out of stinginess. In fact, these women are often quietly generous. Donating, volunteering, giving without need for recognition. But when it comes to her personal resources, her time, her energy, her home, she is discerning. Not because she's closed off, but because she knows what it cost to create the sanctuary she now calls her own. She knows exactly what a relationship must mean. And what it must never mean. She's not anyone's retirement plan. She's not merging bank accounts out of obligation. She doesn't want to be rescued. And she sure as hell doesn't want to be managed. What she is open to is partnership that respects her sovereignty. And if that doesn't show up, she's just fine. Her life is already full of comfort, clarity, and quiet triumphs no one may see. But she celebrates them daily. There's something else about women like Lorraine. They always have a dream in motion. Whether it's traveling the world, starting a scholarship fund like my friend Evelyn did in her hometown, creating art, growing gardens, or rescuing animals. They don't save for security alone. They save for purpose. So if this sounds like you, if you've worked hard, planned wisely, sacrificed much, and now find joy in the life you built, then yes, you are a sovereign builder. You deserve every cent you earned, every decision you made, every morning that belongs to no one but you. So here's to you, the woman who carved out her own ground, and has no intention of handing it over. You are not guarded. You are not hard. You are clear. Your independence is not a shield. It's a declaration. And you need no one to validate your path. Because you know exactly what it took to walk it. And you know exactly where it's leading. Type 5, the silent sage, she who holds the lantern. And now, we arrive at the final kind of woman. The one who doesn't simply endure solitude. She becomes it. gracefully, powerfully, quietly. I call her the silent sage. She's the witness, the keeper of stories, the one who no longer needs the room to roar in order to be felt. She doesn't measure her worth by how many people fill her home. She carries her value in her voice, her presence, and in the way she sees the world. The silent sage has lived deeply. She's tasted loss. She's made impossible choices. She's walked through seasons few could understand. She's seen the best and the worst in others and in herself. But through it all, she didn't just collect memories. She distilled meaning. And now, she no longer needs to prove anything to anyone. She's done with the performance. She's not seeking approval, not chasing attention, not fighting for love. She knows who she is. And her being, just her quiet being, is a gift. Let me tell you about Althea. She's 76 years old, living alone in a quiet cabin tucked into the Colorado mountains. Once, she was a high school history teacher, a guide through the past. Now, in her retirement, she's become a different kind of teacher. Every week, she volunteers at a small-town community center, mentoring teenage girls, answering their endless questions about love, family, life. She never pretends to have all the answers. Instead, she offers truth refined by a fully lived life. She once told me, "They don't need perfect. They need real." And at this stage in life, I have no desire to be anyone other than exactly who I am. That is the essence of the sage. She lives alone, but rarely feels lonely. Because for her, solitude isn't a void. It's a vantage point. It's where she writes, reflects, forgives, and remembers. Her question is no longer what comes next. It's what truly matters. Sages often become the quiet anchors of their communities. They don't demand attention, but they quietly draw in those who hunger for depth. They may lead writing circles, offer spiritual counsel, or simply share stories over tea and candlelight. They are admired not for what they've achieved, but for how they exist. They live slowly, intentionally. They've let go of grudges, released regret, and made peace with the silence. There's a stillness in them that others feel. A peace that wasn't given, but earned. She may no longer need romantic connection to feel whole. Yet many sages are deeply woven into friendship, sisterhood, and mentorship. These bonds are chosen, not chased. Formed not from fear of being alone, but from love of meaningful connection. The sage knows that solitude can be a temple. A place where one listens inward, feels the steadied beat of a resilient heart, and touches something far greater than herself. For some, that's prayer. For others, it's poetry. For many, it's simply remembering who they are, and where they've been. This is the woman who can walk into a room, say little, and shift the energy entirely. She doesn't need a partner to complete her. She doesn't need noise to feel alive. She is complete. Not despite her solitude, but because of what that solitude has revealed. If you see yourself in this woman, if you find joy in contemplation, truth in silence, and meaning in quiet giving, then let me say this, from the deepest place of truth I know. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are the lighthouse many of us still steer toward. You remind us that there is a kind of strength that doesn't shout, a kind of beauty that doesn't fade, and a kind of wisdom that doesn't come from having all the answers, but from asking the right questions. So here's to you, the silent sage, the witness, the lantern holder. Your life is not behind you. It is in every word you speak, every step you take, and every soft, solid imprint you leave on this world. In your solitude, you are not diminished. You are refined. You are not alone. You are whole. And so, Dear friend, here we are. Today, we met 5 extraordinary women. And maybe, just maybe, you saw yourself reflected in one of them. Or perhaps, like many of us, you recognized little pieces of your soul scattered across all 5. Maybe you're the compass woman. Rooted in clarity, steady in conviction. Choosing your path without seeking approval. And building a beautiful life by trusting your inner guide. Maybe you're the inner sanctuary artist. Crafting quiet magic behind closed doors. Finding meaning in stillness, in pages written. In brushstrokes left unfinished. In the shifting light of seasons outside your window. Perhaps you're the reclaimed caregiver. Someone who once gave every ounce of herself to others. And is now gently learning to turn that love inward. To nurture the woman in the mirror with equal devotion. Or maybe you're the sovereign builder. The woman who built her life brick by brick. Who plans with purpose, gives without expectation. And guards her freedom not out of fear. But out of deep, sacred respect for the ground she's walked to get here. And perhaps, yes, perhaps, you are the silent sage. The one who carries peace into the storm. Who no longer runs to be seen. Because she knows. She carries truth within her, wherever she goes. Whoever you are. Or whoever you're still becoming. Please remember this. You are not strange for loving your own company. You are not broken because you live without a partner. You are not less valuable for choosing calm over chaos. You are complete. You are radiant. And you are exactly where you are meant to be. There is a quiet kind of power in living alone. Especially as a woman. Because it means you've stepped away from what the world told you to want. And moved closer to what truly feeds your spirit. That takes courage. That takes wisdom. That takes a fiercely tender heart. And if no one's told you lately, I am proud of you. I see the choices you've made. The silent victories you've claimed. The sacred life you're still building. And all of it matters. If this conversation spoke to you, I'd be honored to hear your story in the comments below. Tell me, which of these 5 women felt like home to you? Which one whispered, "That's me"? This space is yours. For your voice, your truth, and your quiet unfolding. Because the world doesn't get to define what happiness looks like for you. Your soul has always known. It's just waiting for you to listen. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. This is your life. And you, just you, in the stillness of your own sacred space, are already enough. Thank you for spending this time with me.